Before we start, I just want to send a quick little message to say that if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. 76% of people who watch the videos are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. I've plucked that number out of the air, 76%. Who knows whether that's right? I'll bring up how much it actually is now. If you're watching the channel for the first time, we're Amused Bouche, we do cooking videos, we're trying to have a laugh while we do them. The best bit is that I know what's going to happen in this episode because I'm filming this at the very, very end of filming. So join us for the fun. Hey everyone, it's James. Welcome back to Amused Bouche. Different kitchen. We are currently at my parents' house filming something out of my mum's kitchen, and there's two ovens, double ovens. So quite greedy, but that's fine. Today we're doing another Can I Make It? And this time we are tackling a classic university student snack, I would say. It's a pot noodle. I did a little thing on Instagram to find out which was the most popular flavour of pot noodle. It was an overriding sort of vote for the chicken and mushroom. Little measuring jug, heat proof, so we can get a good idea of what's going on in here. Let's crack this open. This is all new to me. I've got a little sachet of soy. Let's pour it out. So we've got all that powder there. Look at that. It's quite a bit actually, isn't it? And then I'm just going to squeeze this to break it away from the sides. We've got noodles, like little bits of sweet corn, little herbs, some little mushrooms. Got some boiling water. So this is what you're meant to do, isn't it? So we'll pour that over there like that. What am I going to cover it with? Foil. Just like that. Keep the steam in. I'll cut here so the tin foil can do its job for 2 minutes. Okay, let's get that there. Okay, I mean, it's starting to break down. We'll be back after these short messages. Waiting for the timer. Waiting for it. Time's gone off, yeah? Yeah, okay, time's gone off. Great. Let's have a look, see what we're dealing with here. I would say that it's started to get a bit claggy. The thing is they're very salty. A lot of juice. What we are going to do is see whether I can actually make this as a product. We're going to make noodles. We're not going to just use a packet of dry noodles because that's pointless. We need to actually try and make some noodles. Then the key and the most difficult thing I think is going to be making the stock that is on the noodles. It's powder. I've got an idea at how I'm going to do that, but that's going to be the one, I think. That's going to be the difficult bit. You know what? Chicken and mushroom pot noodle. Let's get to it. The first thing that we're going to do is tackle the stock. Now, my theory here is make a stock, cook it out, remove the fat, reduce the remaining stock, and then dehydrate in the oven. Finally, when it becomes brittle, pulverising it until we're left with a powder. So for the stock, we're going to need a couple of onions, a couple of sticks of celery, a couple of carrots, and some crushed garlic cloves. And they all go into a baking tray. Then to get the chickeny flavour, we're going to use some chicken. I'm using wings because one, they're a little bit cheaper than the other cuts of chicken, but also they've got the skin, the bones, the fat, all of that stuff is going to make your stock amazing. Use a big heavy knife and use the back end, like the heel of the knife, and hit the chicken wing so that you're sort of cracking the bone underneath the flesh. This will release lots of lovely flavour and gelatin. Then lay the wings onto your veggies and season them up. This baking tray can then go in the oven for about 30 minutes at about 180 degrees Celsius, or until everything has turned a nice golden brown colour and the chicken skins have gone all nice and crispy. Once that's all cooked, it can go into a large cooking pot, and then we're going to add about 10 peppercorns, 2 teaspoons of dried thyme, and about a teaspoon of mustard seeds. Top this off with boiling water until everything is covered, and then set it to simmer. This should stay simmering at a low temperature for about 2 or 3 hours until everything is nice and cooked down. You're going to be left with one of the most amazing, rich, tasty stocks. Next, let's prepare some dehydrated elements. Cut the chicken breast up into small cubes. I've gone for about 1.5 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres, and lay them out on a piece of baking paper or a silicone mat like this, and then cook them for about 10 minutes at 180. They're small, so they're not going to take that long to cook at all. Once they're done, push them to one side of the tray And then in the other sections, add some sweet corn and some sliced mushrooms. These are all going to go in the oven to dehydrate. To do that, I'm putting them into an oven that's on at about 60 degrees Celsius, the lowest it will go, and I'm leaving them in there for about 2 hours. Now, for the noodles, we're going to make some egg noodles. One thing that I discovered doing this is an egg noodle, very similar to pasta. Thousands of miles away from each other, but China and Italy both had the bang-in idea of mixing eggs and flour and rolling it out and cooking it and putting it with lovely sauces. Well done, human race. Put your egg into a bowl and then add a little bit of water until the weight of the bowl comes to 65 grams. I'm using a stand mixer to get things started. It's just so much easier than trying to knead the whole thing. Into the bowl goes 125 grams of plain flour and a pinch of salt, followed by the egg and water mix. Pop the dough hook on and set the mixer to go for about 5 minutes on a slow to medium setting. It'll end up looking a little bit like this. If it's too dry, just add a touch more water. You should be looking for a nice supple dough, like Play-Doh. Now, I'm not making massive amounts here, so I'm struggling to get the dough hook to actually grip the dough. What I ended up doing is taking it out and finishing it off by hand, bringing everything together. Make sure it's been kneaded for about 7 minutes, and then wrap it tightly in cling film and get it in the fridge to relax for an hour. Let's go back to our stock. It's been boiling away for a few hours, so now we're going to strain it so that we can remove all the liquid. Pass it through a sieve, and then using a potato masher, I'm just pushing it down to make sure all the juices are out of all the chicken and vegetables. You're going to be left with this gold. Cover it up and get it in the fridge. All the fats will rise to the top, and then if it's in the fridge overnight, they'll all set on the very top layer, which means it's easy to get rid of them. The next day, you're going to be left with this. All the gelatin from the chicken wings has left you with a nice chicken jelly. Sounds nice. Chicken jelly and custard. Oh, no, actually. Remove all the fat from the top, and with that you can just discard it and then return the stock to the saucepan. Bring it to the boil and let it reduce for about 10 minutes and you'll end up with this. A nice, rich, intense, I think it's actually called a demi-glaze, this. What we're going to do is get a high-sided roasting tin, and we're going to put some baking paper into the bottom, and then we're going to pour our stock onto that baking paper so it's in a nice thin layer. Get it into our oven that's set at 60 degrees Celsius and leave that there for about 5 hours. This will get rid of any of the water and will just leave you with all the solids of the chicken stock. While that's starting to dry, we can cut up our noodles. Now, turns out my mother doesn't have a pasta machine. She's got every other kitchen gadget you can possibly imagine, but not a pasta machine. So by hand, we're going to have to do it. Roll it until it's so thin that you can see your own hand through it and you'll be away. We're going to roll it up into a cigar shape like this, and then making sure that everything's well floured, we're going to use a sharp knife to cut into small ribbons. Get a friend to help you, like Ruth's doing here. It's just because it takes forever to unravel them. Take these long noodles and lay them into little nests. Similar to the stock and the chicken's sweet corn and mushroom pieces, we're going to dehydrate the noodles. So pop them on the baking tray and get them into that oven where the stock's dehydrating to dry out. It's the next day and we can have a look at our stock. After letting it dry in the oven for about 4 hours, I just turned it off and let it sit in there overnight to completely dry out. The majority of what we're left with is brittle, and it can be smashed down into a powder. However, because of the gelatin, there are a few little bits that will stay a bit gummy. These bits can just be discarded. Pop all of the dry, brittle pieces into a pestle and mortar and pulverise it down until it's a powder. Pass it through a sieve and you'll be left with what is essentially a broken down stock cube. To put it all together, I'm taking a heat-proof jar just so that we can pour some boiling water on it, and I start out with the dried egg noodle discs, followed by our dehydrated mushrooms, corn and chicken pieces. And then for the stock, we're going to put the stock powder in with a teaspoon of corn flour. This should hopefully act as a thickening agent, and it will mean that we'll get that nice thick sort of stock at the bottom with the noodles. And that's it. Well, I mean, let's be honest, that's not it, is it? Clearly. You know, it turns out this is an absolute nightmare to try and make, and it's taken 3 days. But there you go. That's my attempt at a pot noodle. And it's awful. No. That is not a pot noodle. That is not a pot noodle. This one here, obviously now it's been in there a few minutes. That's sort of solidified up a little bit, like gone all claggy. This one is honestly some of the worst looking stuff in a jar I've ever seen. This one piece of mushroom apparently keeps falling out. Let's get rid of him, because he clearly doesn't want to play. It smells like pot noodle, chickeny, mushroomy. Smells like dishwater. Smells like dishwater. Let me bring it over to you so you can have a look. Right. Man, I do not want to taste this. I don't know how they've done that. I don't know how they've made the noodles clumped together in a little dry pack, and then when the water hits them, they go, yeah, let's have it, mate. Join the party. Join the party. I don't want to try them. They're going to be horrible. I don't even know what to eat, really. But the noodles aren't cooked, okay? The pieces of chicken have like turned into what is essentially like fingernails. They look a little bit like fingernails. It tastes absolutely vile. The one thing I was hoping was that the stock, like making that stock would be all right. It's just got no flavour. Look at that. Look at that. Dirty, 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 dirty. That stock, by the way, that stock that we made, that's great. Make that stock lovely. If you want a little broth, want to drink some little bit of broth, perfect. Don't try and dehydrate it, turn it into a powder, then put it back in with some more water, so you've got rid of all the water, add the water back in again, and hope that it's going to still taste the same, because it's not. I wanted the challenge, okay? I wanted the challenge of can I make it? You know, this is part of the show. They're not always going to go right. We saw that with the mini roll when it was like the Hulk, but at least it tasted good. That is vile. But what I can do is make a nice noodle soup, which I think we are going to do, and hopefully that will be out in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try and film me making a noodle soup from scratch. We're going to make a Thai curry paste. We're going to not make the noodles. That will be the key. But basically we'll make a nice noodle soup, which is sort of what this wants to be, but I can't make it. I can't make it. If you've watched this and you've gone, well, what a waste of time, I'm with you. I've spent 3 days trying to do this, and it's not worked, okay? Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep your eye out for that noodle soup in the future, because we're going to try and do something that's better than this. And we'll see you next time.